Welcome to the Shifting with Marlee podcast. I'm Marlee. Thank you for joining me wherever you are. All that I ask of you, the listener, is to have an open mind and an open heart. And in return, I offer you myself. Today, we're going to tap into our multidimensional selves and explore the astral realms, all in an effort to help us understand what's going on behind the scenes of this 3D physical reality we're living in. This is going to allow us to see the world from a whole new perspective and help us understand the world on a deeper level and understand what's going on in the world today from a higher level perspective. Here to guide us today and share her astral keys and wisdom is Chantelle Scott. Chantelle is a psychic activator, channel, and business mentor based in the UK. Welcome, Chantelle.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on. I'm really excited to talk and channel whatever comes through today.
I am so excited and so grateful to connect with you today. Just thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me on. This is going to be juicy, I can tell.
Yes. And before we dive in, can you please let people know where they can find you and connect with you?
Absolutely. So I am at embody EMBODYC on everything, all platforms.
Awesome. So to start off today, Chantelle, let's dive right in. Can you please share with us a bit about your personal story and your journey to unlocking your channeling capabilities and psychic abilities and developing your connection to the astral realms?
Where do we start? So I've always been what my family would call the weird one. As soon as I got access to the internet in my next door neighbor's house, we were really good friends. I got banned because her dad looked at the search history and saw me searching up black magic when I was like 11. I don't know where that came from, but there was something. I had a lot of strange experiences when I was a child, but my mum thought I was legitimately crazy. But now I'm like, oh no, I was just really tuned in and nobody got it. Which, as most people do, when you're kind of shunned or thought as weird, you think, oh no, turn it off, turn it off, turn it off. That's not normal. I'm a human now. So I've always been like this. I started to remember more in my teenage years. I'm not quite sure what happened to kind of make me remember again, but it was like a second coming. I started exploring a lot of the occult. I became quite obsessed heavily with like a lot of occultic practices, hermetics. I wasn't even aware of manifestation then. I was very much like magic is real. Hermes was teaching this in ancient Egypt and all of this stuff. Turns out I've got a lot of past lives with obviously with a lot of the Egyptian stuff anyway, which is why I was so drawn to it. And then yeah, I think by 2017 I was making music, but I was channeling and I wasn't aware until I'd go through life and then re-listen to my music and be like, oh snap, I channeled that and it happened. Like I was channeling things before they happened. I had an encounter with what people, I guess, class as like a twin flame, and we would be channeling music back and forth to each other, between each other. We were very different. That didn't align at the time, which is fine, and it won't ever align now because we're so different. But it was a massive part of my awakening and of really understanding the interconnectedness between everything and how different spirituality looks, because he was very, very tapped in. He was very aware. He would channel all sorts without him being really consciously aware. And that made me kind of realize, spirituality comes in a lot of different forms, because if you looked at him, you would think, oh, look at him. He's wearing, like Nike trainers and he looked someone from the hood from London, but he was very, very tapped in and very in tune. And then, yeah, from there, I guess things just kind of continued spiraling until I had a child. I had a child in 2022. And I feel like I was so busy being a mother, and that was a crazy year in my life, that I almost forgot how spiritual I was. And I just felt like a human. And there were times when I felt like, what's happened? I used to be so in tune and so aware, and now I just feel like I don't have anything. I felt like I couldn't even manifest anything. It was quite a traumatic year, so obviously that added to feeling very disconnected. And then at the turn of last year, I thought, nah, something's got to change here. I need to come back to who I actually am. I know I'm not myself because I don't feel spiritually aware. I don't feel tapped in. So I started making daily practices again. My son was a bit older, so it was a bit easier to kind of tap in. And then I was on TikTok and I came across a lady called Natty Beats. And her video, I was like, she's talking about the most cosmic, crazy stuff. And yet here she is swearing and she sounds exactly like me. And that just clicked something with me. I went on her page, I saw she had a book. I bought her book, I read her book within 48 hours. And then Natty Beats works a lot with dragon energy. I thought, I'm gonna call in the dragons. I'm gonna see if this, not that I didn't believe it, but I thought, let me just call this in to see if it is as powerful. So I finished the book and I was led in bed as I finished, and I closed my eyes and I said, I'm calling in any dragon energy that's working for the highest good of all. Come into my field and clear what needs to be cleared so that I can come in communication with you. Because in her book, she says, you need to be of a certain kind of energetic level to receive messages from the dragon energy, right? So I said, right, let me just ask them to clear what's in the way then. The next morning, I was at my sink, about to do the washing up. And before I know it, I woke up with a weird pain in my belly button, like a pulling pain. And I thought, I think I'm having a hernia. Like, what on earth is this pain? I couldn't get rid of it. I went to wash up, and all of a sudden, I just felt the need to like protect this space. And I was like, what do you mean protect the space? I wasn't talking to anyone. And they were like, protect the space. And I was like, I don't know what you mean. How do I protect space? And before I know it, I'm channeling, like, I'm protecting the space. I'm channeling all this crazy stuff. I'm literally pulling things out of my stomach, talking light language. It was insane. And then I have a lot of like, I'm saying all of this, clearing Anunnaki programming and Anunnaki bloodlines. And honestly, I don't know how long it went on for, but it was just insane. And then I came back into my body, opened my eyes, and thought, what has just happened? And I had to spend a good like day reminiscing on what had happened because I couldn't comprehend it. And then I went to meditate and found out that, oh, I can see stuff now. Interesting. They were showing me my past lives. I was receiving messages when I was meditating that had never happened before. Like that. Anyway, not in the way that it had before. And that was it, really. Then I realized I could see stuff. I thought, okay, let me try this out. I offered free readings on Instagram, did 30 in the space of a few days, and everyone was like, holy crap. Yep, yep, yep. That was it. My business was born because I was like, oh, I can actually do that. Wow. And all of this happened in April, March or April this year. And it's just been going deeper and deeper and deeper ever since.
Thank you so much for sharing. I love your journey and your story so much. And I'm always in awe, truly, of people whose abilities come online so quickly like that. I'm always in awe because for me, it's basically been the opposite. For me, it's been like more of a slow build over 10 years, but it's all beautiful, right? Everyone's on their
hmm
own beautiful divine timeline.
Yeah, yeah, it's exactly that. And I'm a firm believer that anybody can do it. Everybody has the ability to. But like you've said, everyone's path is different. There's always a reason behind why it might not have happened in the way you wanted it to or at the rate that you were expecting it to.
Absolutely. And we're going to get into all of this. But first, Chantelle, can you please share with us to kind of start off your definition of the astral realms so that we're all on the same page for this conversation? And I'm also curious how you see and visualize the astral realms.
Yeah. So the astral realm for me is anything that exists that you can't see with your 3D eyes. So anything that doesn't exist in the 3D reality exists astrally. And in astral realm, some people call it the energetic realm. Yeah. When it comes to sight and how I see things astrally, it's a multifaceted answer, I guess. So I can close my eyes and I can see, but how I see in the astral realm is not the same as how I see with my 3D eyes. And when I'm working with clients and I'm activating their gifts and helping them kind of build trust in what they're seeing, this is the main issue because a lot of people expect to see things in the astral realm like they do with their 3D eyes, and the sight is not the same. You're not seeing things that exist in the 3D reality, so the sight is very different. The best way I can put it is it's a mixture of like knowing and seeing. So I might sometimes I have this guide that comes through a lot recently, and he's a Native American man. He exists just to my left, and I can't necessarily see everything about him, but I know that he's Native American. I know that he is blowing mapacho and keeping the spirits away or clearing the spirits away on my behalf. So it's a mix of like knowing and seeing. And the knowing comes from being able to tap into the energy that's present and having like a synergistic relationship with the energy. So you just know. It's very tricky to explain, and it's something that needs to be experienced. Like energy, right? Energy needs to be experienced. It's hard sometimes to translate energy into language for people to actually comprehend. But yeah, it's not the same as seeing with your 3D eyes. And there's a bit of sound in there as well, I guess. Some people don't hear things, some people get a mix of all of it. They're activating a lot more of my hearing now. Sometimes they test me and they don't show me anything and they make me have to listen and hear and really tap into the energy.
Thank you for that explanation. And that's been my experience as well. I see it in my mind's eye, almost like a dream.
Hmm.
That's the
Yeah.
way it comes through for me. And I also want to clarify, and you touched on this, we connect with the astral realms consciously using our psychic senses, right? Which are our clairs.
Hmm.
And also through often a more meditative like state. Is that your experience as
Yeah.
well?
Yeah. Absolutely. They're saying you don't always have to be in a meditative state when you're beginning out. It's easier. If I was going to traverse the astral, do my own astral journey on my own, I would have to get in a meditative state. If I'm working with a client, I can just protect the space, tap in automatically. I don't need to do anything. They're saying you're granted immediate access. I get granted immediate access if I'm working on behalf of somebody else. If I'm working for myself, then I have to get in a meditative state to access.
That is so fascinating. I love that distinction. And Chantelle, why is working with the astral realms so important? And I'm also curious what benefits and changes you've seen in your life this year since working with the astral realms.
I mean, it's important because it's fun, for one. Like, it's just really insane to be able to tap in and see things that most people can't, or that they don't tap into. It's also important because everything is energy first, right? This is like existence or reality in its truest form. So you can access anything here, within means. You can't, they're saying you can't access anything because we don't grant you access to everything. But you can access a lot more than what you can in your 3D reality. And so through that, without tangenting, if you're seeing reality for what it really is in its truest forms, you can see every single if you're granted access to these things, you can see every single layer of your reality. You can tap into your body and understand why you're experiencing certain ailments, why you're experiencing certain thought patterns, why you're experiencing certain emotions, why certain patterns are playing out in your 3D reality. It's almost like they're saying it's like you're watching a show, right? Or you're watching a film. When you go to the astral realms, you get to see backstage of all the ins and outs of why that is happening. What is happening? How did they get the stage like that? What makeup were they putting on before they got on stage? You get granted like backstage access to the 3D reality, essentially. Yeah. And since I have had that access opened, it's just been insane. More so because I can help other people in ways that I couldn't help them before. I can see into their energetic field. I can see into their chakras. I can say, right, this is happening because you have something here energetically, or you've got implants in your higher chakras and your lower chakras. You're chained to this, and I wouldn't have been able to do that if I couldn't see into the astral realm. And on top of that, it's just been amazing to be able to tap in and channel. I'm a fiend for knowledge. I've always been a fiend for information. I want to know this, I want to know that. My entire life, I've been someone to read and to, kind of gauge my own understanding of things. And so having now an open channel, I still love reading, obviously, and I will still read people's books that I resonate with. But now it's more so like I can just tap in and I can ask, why is this playing out? Can you tell me more about that? And I can channel the information through me instead of having to always look externally. And also being able to just talk to other beings or channel different beings' perspectives is just insane.
Going backstage. I love that answer so much. This is exactly why I wanted to talk about this today. And I also want to share a quote from you from your writings where you said, the more I place my focus on the astral realms and true energetic alignment, the more I open up to the path of least resistance to receive my desires. Full body chills. Just wow.
I love that. Yeah. Thank you for picking up on that because that's really been it especially when it comes to my life path or my business specifically. I don't feel the need to force or to push or to yeah, to push myself into unalignment anymore because I can tap in and I can understand and I can move myself out of the way. A lot of my work when I'm channeling, when I'm working with other people specifically, or when I'm channeling beings, I'm having to get used to kind of moving my ego and moving my consciousness to the side so I can allow another energy in to channel through me. And so that is kind of imprinting my ability to be able just to move my ego to the side whenever I'm being guided to do something. I don't feel the need to fight. I'm like in full trust and surrender just to allow the path of least resistance to be shown to me, which is actually something I channeled in one of my group programs this week. We were talking about aligned action, but true aligned action. I had Arcturians come through and say that the new but the old, because it is an ancient way, and an ancient art form of true alignment and aligned action is essentially moving your ego out of the side and allowing your higher self or your soul to come in and to give you the stepping stones. That's sacred co-creation. You're allowing your higher self to come in, give you the stepping stones, and then it's you as the kind of fragmented aspect of consciousness that steps onto the stepping stone. It's up to you to take the action, but the guidance comes from much higher than what your ego can comprehend.
I love that so much. It's everything. It's so powerful. Thank you for sharing that. And I feel like everything we've been talking about, working with the astral realms, how you mentioned you're now helping others, it's almost like the spiritual technology. That's how I see it. It has the ability to just catapult us forward.
Yeah. I love that you've used the word technology as well, because I'm sure many people listening and you yourself have heard the phrase or the axiom, as within, so without. So externally, we have technology. We have computers, we have Apple and Samsung. So within, we have energetic technology. That's what channeling is. That's what exists in the astral realm. They've shown me technology. They've given a physical form to energetic technology to me to look at, and I have no idea what I am looking at, but I can see how it works. So energetic technology is a thing. It's very well known by a lot of people on the planet. Whether or not they do good with that information or energetic technology is up to them.
I love how we're talking about this today because I think it connects a lot of dots. And that's
Hmm.
really why I wanted to have this conversation. And Chantelle, I know you work with your clients a lot with embodiment and energetic alignment. Can you share with us how working with the astral realms can help with that and speed up that process?
I mean, there's a lot of different facets of work that I do with my clients, but embodiment essentially is becoming, right? It's to be. And that is a sacred practice in itself. But there has been some distortions that have been prevalent specifically within like the manifestation community or the coaching community, where Embodiment is more so who are you being, but from an ego perspective. Be the woman who has a six-figure business. Be the woman who believes that she's magnetic. Like, again, I'm not here to project any judgment. That works for some people, that's fine. It's not that it's wrong. It's just a slightly distorted view on the organic template of embodiment, which is to really embody energy and to really become more of your soul and to really step into your soul's path. And there's a lot of people now who are finding it hard to follow their ego's desires because they're coming across a lot of roadblocks, and that's because people's guides, beings that live in the astral realm that are assisting the planet at this time, have kind of come to the conclusion that there are a lot of people who have a much higher path, and it's time for them to start living that higher path now. The desires of the ego are not, you keep bumping heads. You can't fit through into the next phase of embodiment because it's not for you. They're trying to redirect everyone who's been, kind of chasing the slightly wrong things or the wrong paths. You're going to keep butting heads. And eventually, I have had clients who come to me, they're trying to guide people and they're not getting the message. And unfortunately, then it's time for a tower moment. And they will come in guns blazing and they will start taking things out of your reality by force to make you wake up, because some of us, we need that. So when we're working with embodiment in the astral realm, one, it's great because I can see the behind of the why. So when I have clients come to me and they say, "Oh, I'm trying to do this, or I'm really wanting to do this business, but it's not working. I've been doing this for like a year now, but nothing's working." And they've done everything. They've done everything. They've done all the strategy. They've done so much. And so with the sight that I have to see, I can tap in and say, yeah, it's not aligned. That's not meant for you. That doesn't mean that I can say, that's not meant for you, but this is exactly what you're supposed to do and all the steps. That's not my job. My job is to simply come in and say, they're telling me that is not aligned. That's why. So you need to let go of these things, or less you need to. Obviously, this is your choice. They're telling me this. Do what you will with that information. But it's a lot easier to understand what's in alignment, what is not in alignment, because I can see the energy behind it. And when you work astrally and when you commit to something, whether that be a path, whether that be a business, an offer, and when it's truly in alignment, it's coming from your higher self or from your guides, the embodiment happens naturally. They will throw you into initiations. By initiations, I mean they will bring things into your life, into your path, whether it be situations, people, opportunities that are going to make you embody higher aspects, higher knowledge, higher understandings in order to become a vibrational match to that thing that you're trying to call in. This is like true frequency based manifestation and true frequency based living, when you can accept the initiations that they're giving you to make you an energetic match to what you want. Whereas the kind of distorted view is, this is what I want. I'm going to project it out because I'm in complete control. And now I'm going to forcibly become a vibrational match to that thing by thinking and feeling it. Like, sure, again, it's not that it doesn't work, but it's not working for people who are not meant to do that now, because it's not the true frequency based way of living. They will always give you the stepping stones towards higher embodiment. And then it's up to you whether you're going to step on those stones or not. But that's the path of least resistance. You don't need to force yourself to try and become the person who, it will happen naturally because they'll guide you to become that version of you anyway.
And I think what I love the most when we take the perspective of the astral realms and everything you just shared is that we are always being guided to our highest path.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. The thing is, sometimes your highest path doesn't look how you thought it was going to look. The journey doesn't look the same. And there are also times when it's necessary for them to guide you towards something with the belief that the end result is going to be XYZ, for that not to happen. And it's not, oh, that wasn't aligned. That was the wrong guidance. That was the wrong thing. If your guide said, oh, we really want you to do this and to do that, nothing's going to come of it though, but you just need to do it because, there's energetic codes and there's frequencies and there's embodiment that needs to happen for you. You wouldn't do it because you'd think, no, I'm not doing all of that for nothing. No, no way. So they will kind of fib a little bit and kind of make you think, oh yeah, this is going to be great, and it doesn't happen. But that's because there were things that you needed through that experience. It's not that it wasn't aligned, but that can throw a lot of people off, unfortunately. But it's just a part of the process, and it is necessary.
Yeah, it's part of the process. And Chantel, this is something else that I find so fascinating. And you kind of touched on this already, but basically, the root cause from the perspective of the astral realms of many physical ailments, repeating patterns, fears, limiting beliefs, emotions, blocks, etc., in this physical 3D reality. Can you talk about that a little bit and also give some examples of some of the things you've helped your clients move through and clear using the astral realms?
Yeah, so there's so much that you can do, obviously, with this in terms of my clients and the experiences that they've had. There have been times when they have felt super mentally like chaotic, all over the place. They can't get their head straight. They don't know what to do or how to do it. And it becomes quite frantic for them. And this specific client, when I tapped in, it was there's a different version of you from a different timeline, and all your wires are crossed. So you're both like, oh, I don't know what to do because all of your timelines are all over the place. So when you're traversing the astral space, questions are key. You can't just say, oh, look, there's chords. Let me cut all of those chords. Finished. You have to ask questions. It took me a while to understand what was happening because I had to ask a range of questions for them to tell me what was happening. Most of the time, you can't just tap in, see something, and they'll give you the answers like that. You have to kind of chip away at it bit by asking different questions. Does this need to be cut? No. Okay, does it need to be untangled? Yes. Okay, before I untangle it, can you show me what's at the other end of this? Is it a different version of her? Is it a past life? No. Show me its organic form so I can actually know that it's her and not something pretending to be her. Oh, it is her. Oh, it's from a different timeline. You have to really chip away bit by bit to understand what is happening and then come up with the solution that they're guiding you to. So that was crazy. We put that version of her back on the correct timeline. I've also had people make contracts with things in past lives which have followed them to this life. So people who have a lot of they find themselves in a lot of predicaments. They have a lot of ailments. And by ailments, I don't mean like lifelong ailments, more so like, oh, well, I broke my leg. And then after that, I bloody snapped my finger. And then after that, this happened. But there's just a lot of what would seem like random, sporadic incidences. But actually, when I tap in, I'm like, you made a contract with something in this life and it's following you. First of all, is it safe for me to break that contract? Yes. Okay. Well, then I need to know what being it was made with. Is this being benevolent? Is it malevolent? Does it need to be ascended up? Does it need to be sent to the highest spiritual court of justice? There's so many different layers to go through. And for myself, I've had so many things. I've had past life, I've had mermaids sabotaging me because I made a promise that I would, she saved my life. And I said I'd go back and I'd give her something, and I never did. And so she was fuming and she was following me, swiping a lot of things away from my path because she decided I wasn't allowed them because I never went back and gave her what was rightfully hers. The great thing is I can just go in astrally and say, oh, snap, I'm really sorry about that, actually. Where is it? Let me go there and let me go and get it for you. Let me give it back to you, okay? Yeah, great. On your way. There we go. The stuff that you see is it's very interesting. When I talk about this with certain people, they're like, what? I always say if I talk openly about what I have experienced, there's probably a high possibility that I would be swept away and put in a mental facility potentially. But I know it to be true. I know that there are so many other people that experience the same. And yeah, when you work with these issues astrally, when you work with energetics, it takes a while. It's different for everyone. It doesn't happen like that. Sometimes it does, but it takes a while for the 3D to catch up. So I might do this massive clearing, and then as the weeks go on, it will start to shift in the client's 3D reality. It's not always an instant shift, but I have worked with clients who have lingering emotions that they can't seem to shift because of something traumatic that has happened. And sometimes it does when you're working with emotions or mental thought patterns, sometimes simply going in astrally and doing whatever needs to be done, the next day that client can wake up and feel completely different. I've had a lot of clients do that when they're dealing with emotional or mental loops or patterns. They can be resolved quite quickly. And I did have a client before say, I've been paying for therapy for 18 months. And in 90 minutes today, I feel completely different. I never disregard the potency of my work, and I said that's amazing. Like I'm so happy for you, but let's see, right? Because sometimes you come out of the session, you're on a bit of a high because you think, wow, that was great. But this did last. This is something that she carried on for weeks and weeks, and this has happened months ago. She's in such a better place. So I always do say with my work, wait and see for a few weeks. And I guess the best thing about my work is that I don't like calling myself a coach because a coach is a scalable business. Keep your clients coming back. No, please, if I can sort you out in 90 minutes, don't come back. Like you shouldn't have to come back. It's not like it fixes everything. Sometimes if it's a really big issue, you might need a few sessions on it. But I don't want to keep people coming back. Great if you do. If you want to, keep scaling up your psychic ability is amazing. I'm not trying to keep people hooked in. I want to be able to do the work and you go off and then you can start doing the work on other people. That's like my main goal.
Super powerful. There is so much going on in the astral realms. And so, just to summarize a little bit, some of the things you shared happening that's manifesting in the physical 3D reality, it seems like a lot of past life stuff going on,
Hmm.
chords, timeline stuff. What else?
I would say contracts, vows or spells. I haven't experienced much around spells, but I have had a lot of contracts come up.
And these are contracts from like past lives, right?
Past lives, but also sometimes we come into this life with a contract.
Yeah.
And again, some of these contracts are made. We've decided our consciousness has decided to implement that contract. Other times we have decided, but it's kind of been forced by another entity or another being. So they work both ways. They're not always malevolent. Sometimes they are for our highest good. I have removed things from people, even though their own consciousness decided that they wanted to experience it, but only because their consciousness had decided, you know what, we're at a point now where we don't need to experience this anymore. So yeah, let's remove it. So yeah, there's so many different layers to that. What else would I say that we have astrally that can kind of hold us back or prevent us? If we're going to take a little bit of a heavier turn, there are things that exist astrally that don't have the best intentions. They exist in lower dimensions, lower realities. Sometimes they do exist in high realities as well. And we can unknowingly invite them in. We can unknowingly kind of make space for them in our consciousness. We can allow them to attach on or latch on, siphon energy, unknowingly direct us in our life. So yeah, there's a range of different beings that will do that. And again, it's not, I don't like using the word evil. I do think that there's very dark energy out there. But if you're coming from a very high perspective, it is still all a part of the all. It's just forgotten. It's just decided to pull away from the light, but it is still a part of it. And I think it's all part of the greater game. I could say, oh my God, there's evil and there's people are doing evil things on the planet. And I do believe that. But I can also hold a higher perspective of I can understand why that's playing out and not to kind of fall victim to it because the higher perspective is it's just the all experiencing the all, while at the same time I can understand that what they're doing is horrific. There's room for and in the astral realm. Yes, they're doing this, but or yes, they're doing that, and here's a higher perspective. So yeah, there's a lot that exists in the unseen realms.
Thank you for sharing. This is the kind of stuff that excites me so much. And I wish more people knew about because there's so much going on behind the scenes in the astral realms that is affecting us in this physical reality. And it can be healed and cleared using the astral realms. And this is not meant to like instill any fear or scare anyone because these things are just like part of the human experience on earth, right? It's just that
Mhm.
not enough people are aware of it. But when you have awareness and the tools, you can clear it and heal it and move on to your highest timeline.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Again, like you've said, it's nothing to be feared because this stuff exists whether or not you're aware of it or not. It's been existing, it's always existed. It's just having the aware whether you have the awareness or not to accept it as truth or to tap in. Yeah. There's no need to be afraid. And I like to say, especially to clients who may have entities or attachments attached to them, it's never the end of the world. It's like nothing bad is going to happen. You just do feel deflated. You might, your life is taking a turn that you don't want it to take. But when you have the astral awareness, you can get rid of that thing which is causing that. It's very rare. It's not impossible, but it's very rare for something negative to happen in the astral realm and for it to cause you harm in the physical. I don't want to say never because there are some things that I am aware of, but it's extremely, extremely rare for that to happen.
And that actually brings me to my next question. So, what are some of the symptoms in this physical 3D reality to look out for to know that it may be time to travel into the astral realms and see what's going on and do a clearing?
A lot of things in your life that, and I'm going to say this from a perspective as someone who's aware, not someone who is slightly trapped in a bit of a victim mentality. There's no shade there. It's a program that everybody experiences and that runs within everyone. But for the people who feel like they are really trying to do something in life or to manifest something or to call something in, but they keep finding their life turning in twists and turns that they feel like they are not in control of, that's a sign that there's something potentially kind of manipulating where you're going. Extreme fatigue, tiredness, feeling heavy. If you're someone who very rarely experiences depressive episodes or anxious episodes, but these have come on quite suddenly and you don't know why, that's that's a potential. But this, again, there's nuance here because sometimes when you're thrown into a dark night of the soul or when you're purging, you will experience these symptoms just as a natural consequence of having all of these things rise up to be released. So again, it's just always worth checking because it could be a range of reasons why. But with your body, especially, sometimes you can feel heaviness in the chest from now experiencing different things being different energies, different beings that all don't always look like dark, scary figures that are following people around. Sometimes, like I've cleared a slug from someone's chest, a slug-looking being from someone's chest. It was an attachment, that they'd picked up from being at a festival, crazily enough. And she was like, I feel really heavy, like I can't breathe, I can't get my breath, and I don't know why. And I was like, "Ha, there's a massive slug on your chest. That's strange." And then just moving it on. So it's not always attachments aren't always scary, dark figures. Sometimes they really are just slugs.
That's very helpful and makes so much sense to me. And for me, I'll just share. I notice when my anxiety and my racing thoughts start increasing like a lot, that's a big sign. And also for me, when my sleep starts being affected many nights in a row, that's when I
Hmm.
know as well that it's time for some energy work for me.
Yeah, yeah, the thoughts are a massive one. Intrusive thoughts, thoughts that feel like they're not necessarily yours, or the sleep, yeah, sleep disturbances. If you have reoccurring similar dreams that make you feel a sense of dread, then yeah. But sometimes there are times when I go through phases of having really scary, weird dreams. They don't last very long, but that's usually something else coming up for me to deal with. Or sometimes they're just showing me stuff that I would just rather not see.
Chantelle, we've talked a lot about the astral realms and clearings. Can you please provide us some tips and tools and best practices for navigating the astral realms and also some tips and tools and best practices for energy clearing and protection?
Yeah, so whenever you're going to go into the astral realms, I always, always tell my clients to ground. First, ground yourself, see a root coming out from the base of your spine, pulling Mother Earth's energy up, sending your energy back down. This is just going to connect you to the earth and help you clear anything that's necessary. And then after that, protect the space. That looks different for everyone. Some people just reinforce their sovereignty by claiming themselves as a sovereign being. Other people like to call in protection from dragon guides, dragon guardians, higher selves. I call in liquid white light. I call in the Most High God to cloak me and cover me in mirrors to reflect back any unwanted energy. That's a great one. And then once, I'm grounded and I protect the space, I will enter and I'll see what I can see. When it comes to kind of doing your own clearing work, if you can't see, you can't hear, or you don't necessarily class yourself as having active psychic senses at the moment, you can, again, your intention is everything. If you set the intention or you state out loud or in a meditative state in your head that any unnecessary cords that are not serving your highest good to be cut without needing to know, any that can be cut without needing to know any details safely and completely, by stating that, they will come in and they'll do the work that's necessary. But again, it's always really important to make sure that what you're asking for is for your highest good, for the highest good of all, and that it can be done safely and completely without needing to know the details. I know that sounds like a bit of a mouthful, but the last thing you want to do is to cut something that actually needed you to look into. If you don't have the sight to see or the ears to hear, then asking for it to be done, if it can be done without needing to know the details, is like a game changer because they'll come in and do what is necessary without needing you to kind of comprehend or understand what is happening.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. That's so helpful. And I really want to demystify energy work and make it more accessible for people. So thank you so much because I think it's just such an important tool and going to be even more important as we move forward in the future and into the new earth. So thank you for providing so much wisdom today. And I also want to highlight as well that this all doesn't have to be super complicated or take a ton of time, right? Because time and space don't exist in the astral realms, right? So you
Mhm.
can go in 5, 10 minutes and do a ton of powerful work.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And sometimes when I feel like they are taking too long, I will state to them, I know time doesn't exist where you are, so let's speed this up.
Amazing. And Chantelle, I want to move on now. You mentioned dragons, and I actually, before us recording today, pulled the dragon card. So they really want to come through today. So, can you share with us a bit about dragons and dragon energy and what they are from the perspective of the astral realms and also how you work with them?
Dragons are a form of energy. They're a very, very powerful form of energy. They haven't yet showed me much about how they came into existence or much about, their kind of history. But energetically, there's so many dragons. They all carry their own kind of like energetic signatures and frequencies, much like I guess you would say archangels that people are aware of. You have different archangels for different things, you have different dragons for different things. And yeah, they're just very, very powerful for clearing and for activating. So I always say if I have a client session or I'm doing a group session and a dragon comes through, if a dragon comes through to clear, I'm like, okay, guys, yep, they're doing a lot of work here because they've called the dragons in. If a dragon comes through to activate, then I am guided to make everybody ground even more and to give everybody the option to place a filter on the activation because sometimes they will come through raging in a good way, but they will. Sometimes they've shown me visuals of dragon energy coming up and almost like splitting people's energy as they're coming up because they're just doing so much. So I always give my clients the option to place a filter on just in case they don't want things to be massively impacted. And sometimes when this comes through in my one-to-one clearings, within a few weeks, I had one client and I said, hi, there's a dragon. It's not coming through to activate yet, though. They want everything to settle first. You don't need to do anything, but you will know. You'll know when this dragon has come into your sphere, okay? Within 2 weeks, she was like, hi, I'm just messaging because like I'm a bit confused and a bit worried. It was a voice note and I was listening and she was like, well, like, and she was going back and forth and she didn't really know how to say it, but basically, her friend had been exposed, she'd broken up with her boyfriend, she'd left her job, all of this crazy stuff was happening around her. And then a few days later, she was like, I actually feel really good about it though. Like I feel great. And I was like, yeah, that's the dragon. I told you the dragon will come in and they will wreak havoc on everything that is unaligned for you, and they will redirect you just as quick. And yeah, now she's starting up her own business and she's absolutely in love with life. So the dragons, they're very powerful. And on a side note, we've all heard of dragon eggs. If you're gifted a dragon egg, it's a very you're a very honorable energy for them to gift you a dragon egg. And usually what happens is they'll gift you an egg and they want you to essentially incubate this egg energetically for the time frame you can usually barter with them. Maybe it's a few days, maybe it's a few hours. So I led a group program. We were all gifted a dragon egg. We incubated it. It was called Women of the Womb. So we incubated it in the collective womb. And the next week, the dragon hatched. And the gift to us, they'll always give you a gift for, spending your energy on them. We were all gifted a blue dragon guide. So all of the women now have a blue dragon guide that is around them. And in the weeks following, all of them had signs that there was a blue dragon around them, whether it be being gifted a blue dragon, like physically having visions of a blue dragon. It's just insane. They will make themselves known to you when the time is right.
So beautiful. I love the dragons so much. I'm not sure I've ever shared this on this podcast, but I also work closely with the dragons as well. And like you mentioned, they really help me with energetic clearing and protection, and also just like so much guidance and wisdom. They're such a higher vibrational, higher frequency beings. It's very beautiful. And I feel connecting with their energy helps keep our vibrations higher as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Can you give us some real world examples of how the dragons have helped you and your clients, and some examples of things the dragons have helped you and your clients move through and like overcome?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go back to the beginning story where the dragons are the ones that really activated my psychic senses. I have had clients come and work with dragons and they've alleviated a lot of their endometriosis symptoms or irregular period symptoms. I've had a lot of wisdom just given to me through the dragons. The dragons are a great guide. So I almost like to see them as I know you, most people will be familiar. I think it's called How to Train Your Dragon, where, we see a lot of stories of humans riding on the backs of dragons. That is very much like their energy in the astral realm. They will guide you towards the things that you need to see. You can call them in to help you with any issues that you might be seeing in the astral realm. I know sometimes if there's something that I don't have the ability to clear, I can call in a dragon to come and help me with the thing that I might not have the energetic signature to do. So yeah, and like you said, they're great for so many different things and they all have their own kind of frequency and signature. There's so many of them to call on and they're so high vibrational that if they don't know what to do or how to help you, then they have the imprint to go and find the thing that will be able to.
Yes, thank you. I love that answer. Just brings such a smile to my face talking about the dragons. And I think for me, the dragons have really connected me more with like my power and really helped me with my confidence as well. And also really helped connect with like higher path, higher self, higher timeline, all that good stuff. Very grateful for the dragons.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you work so closely together with them and that you got the dragon card before we even came on.
Chantelle, shifting gears now to the collective and the wider world beyond the individual from the perspective of the astral realms and your channelings. What is going on right now on Earth with all the intensity and density and chaos and destruction and death and just overall craziness? Please help us understand from the perspective of the astral realms.
There's a lot. There's a lot happening at the moment. Collectively, we're kind of coming, or we are in the middle of a point of like a split, essentially. There are different realities that are playing out. There are different energies at play. Certain energies want to anchor into lower timelines, where they can remain in control and in in control and guiding everyone to a slow destruction, I will say. Whereas we have many of the collective people on Earth and a lot of other beings that are working to try and kind of counteract that from happening and anchor us into higher timelines. So what we're seeing is a lot more things being exposed. A lot more people have the eyes to see what is actually happening behind what we're being told, behind the facade. We're being able to see who has been running the show and who's been working for what side. And this is essentially, we live in a world of free will. So all of these things being exposed as the frequency of the earth increases is to give everybody the opportunity to have the eyes to see and to decide then where they want to go. Do you want to claim your sovereignty, and do you want to come to this higher vibrational place where the energy is a lot lighter, where it feels a lot better, and where, unity and like collective consciousness is a thing, where we're all together and we're all unified and we're all working for the betterment of everyone, not just the betterment of the few? Or do you want to continue giving your power away and assisting essentially them that are wanting to anchor you into lower timelines? Do you want to keep giving them the power to anchor you into the lower timeline? It's not that my understanding and what I have been seeing so far, it's going to go both ways. And it's up to you to decide what way you want to go. We have the free will to decide where we're going to go with this, because they're both going to happen regardless. And eventually, it's like a Vesica Pisces. Whoever's in the middle can exist there for so long, but eventually the spheres will come apart so much that the middle won't exist anymore. And that's when it's gonna become very tough for the people who are existing in the middle to pick a side. I don't know what's gonna happen if they don't pick a side. I don't know. But both realities, both timelines are going to be playing out. And so everybody now has the free will to decide where they want to go. And you're seeing a lot of people do this now in the 3D. There are a lot of people taking their children out of schools. There are a lot of people going back to the land and making small holdings and really tapping deeper into community and helping each other instead of relying on somebody else to come in and save us and to help us, where they're creating their own kind of smaller governance, which actually take into account everybody, the whole, the unified consciousness of the whole, not the separate few. So yeah, there's beauty in the chaos. It's all happening for a reason. And there's a lot of people now feeling the call to activate their senses and to start doing work on behalf of the collective. I know that there's a lot of people around me. There's a lot of people coming to me wanting to do something. I'm wanting to be able to see what's behind the veil and help other people. And I channeled this week. It's because there's only so many people holding the frequency of the new place that people are going. And it's taking quite a toll on our physical vessels and our bodies. And so there's another wave of a call coming for other people now to come in and kind of help us uphold this frequency. Because a lot of us, we're going through a lot of ailments. Our bodies are finding it very hard to exist in such differing frequencies at the same time as we're kind of like holding the bridge. So a lot of people are coming to help now. They're waking up, and it's not necessarily that they're just waking up to what's been happening. Awakenings happen in layers, right? There's another layer of awakening of people going, I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to see. I'm feeling the call to go and work and be in community with these people that have these kind of abilities. So yeah, it's really exciting. And anybody that is caught in the destruction of the 3D world, anybody that has come and martyred themselves from this world to kind of shed light on what has happened, they've been martyred and they're well looked after is all I want to say. It makes me emotional to think about.
There's beauty in the chaos. I love that answer so much. And I've heard you talk about this, and it really resonates with me. It's choose your timeline, choose your reality.
Yeah.
And I also want to say as well, and I've seen this, you've talked about this, and a bunch of people who are really connected with the collective and higher perspectives, all the chaos and darkness and shadow that was kind of always beneath the surface is
Hmm.
bubbling up to the surface now to be cleared and transmuted, right? Everything that is out of alignment is coming up to the surface now to be witnessed and seen and felt and released and transmuted, right? And this is happening, like you mentioned, on the collective level and in the external world, and also within our personal lives and internal worlds, because it's all connected as within, so without.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's always existed. We just now have the eyes to see it differently. And this is a lot to handle for a lot of people. As the frequency of the earth continues to shift, more and more people are able to hold the frequency and understanding of seeing it for what it was. If this was to happen 20, 30 years ago, there was not enough people with the awareness to actually sustain that reality. But there are people that are in absolute shock and disbelief. And as more and more things start to come out, and they will, we've not even scratched the surface of what has actually been happening on this planet. We've not even scratched the surface of the lies that we've been told about around existence, around who we are, around where we come from. And as these things start to come out, there will be people who cannot comprehend. They physically cannot deal with the cognitive dissonance, and they will decide to either leave the planet or to anchor themselves into the lower because they can't comprehend. And again, it's not I don't want to say there's any wrong choices because that's up to their soul's own path. And what happens to them after that is between them and God or them and the universe. But yeah, everything always goes back to the all eventually, even if they have chosen to come away from it.
Yes, it does. And I just want to reiterate, even though it seems like things might be getting worse and there's all this destruction, it's really anything that's not in alignment with the frequency of truth and the frequency of love has to be cleared, right? It can't exist anymore as the earth raises its frequency, right? And shifts up in its ascension and its vibration. And I just want to repeat something we said earlier from the perspective of the astral realms. We're always being guided back to our souls, to the highest timeline, to that sacred co creation, right? So just remembering that in the chaos.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's just really powerful to remember that everything is happening divinely, but they're giving me a nudge to kind of drop in that there's a difference between kind of taking the back seat and saying, I'm not in control of anything, I can't do anything, I'm just going to sit back. There's a difference between that and actively saying, I know things are working out for me, and so I'm going to continue to follow and I'm going to continue to do the things I'm being guided and asked of. That's another distortion that a lot of people have been caught in. There are a lot of theories out there, one letter end of the alphabet theories. I don't want to say it because I don't want to offend anybody. That are they believe that there's still somebody coming to save them. There's a lot of cryptic things happening, and that there are people working to assist, but nobody's coming to save you. You have to be the one to step up and to, again, a lot of this stuff is coming up to be shown to us because this, as within, so without. The darkness we're seeing externally is the darkness that we hold within. Even when it comes to, the horrific things that have been happening in Gaza and the genocides that are happening all over the world, it's now up to us. Do we want revenge? Are we going to allow the anger to decide we need revenge? We need to do this and to do that. It's not that anger's bad. Anger is great. Anger is an emotion that can be used to, do you know what? That was absolutely disgusting. I cannot believe that we've allowed them to do that. I can't believe that I have allowed myself to be a victim to these people. I'm going to step up and I'm going to change and I'm going to start doing things in my community and I'm going to start helping them now. I'm going to use this anger to feel good. I'm not using my anger to perpetuate hate and rage at other people. I'm transmuting it and saying that was absolutely disturbing. It is disturbing. I'm going to stop shopping here. I'm going to stop doing that. I'm going to do what I can do to stop. I don't decide to sit back and say, oh, that was really bad. They know they're all doing things anyway. They're doing things for us. All we have to do is sit back and watch the show. You're a part of the show, whether you like it or not. So claim your role and claim your stake and do what your soul is asking of you to help. You can't just sit back. You're a part of the all. We're all going through this together. So step up and help. And a lot of people are feeling that call now.
Yeah, we're all in it. We're all in it together. Yeah, exactly. Thank you for that. Do you have any other tips or tools you can share to help us navigate the craziness in these wild times?
So the guidance that I've been getting is to be aware, don't disregard what's happening. If you're someone who finds it too much, then don't go and look. If you're someone who gets caught in looking and then into the fear of, oh my God, this is happening, this is gonna happen, don't look. Don't look. It's not worth it. Someone like me, I like to know what's happening. I like to look and say, huh, that's what they're doing. Hmm. While simultaneously being able to hold the frequency of, well, this is where I'm going and this is where I'm helping people get to. That's the key. You can look, but it's just like the saying, look, but don't touch. Look at the frequency and look at the timeline, but don't touch it. Don't feed into what they want you to do. You can look, but stay anchored in the direction that you want to go in, into whatever your highest reality looks like.
Thank you. That's super helpful. And I think it's really important, especially for those that feel really overwhelmed by the world, to regularly disconnect from the external world, disconnect from the phones and the news and the social media, and get outside and return to the earth and yourself and ourselves. And that's really my number one tip, because I know for me, when I'm like alone in the woods with the earth, it's like it just shifts everything. It's like magic.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That's that's it. Getting out in nature is such a game changer. Even when you think nothing is happening, the trees are talking to you. They are giving you codes. It's all happening. Sometimes you can be aware of it, sometimes you're not, but they will ground you. And another great tip is if you're somewhere where maybe you live in a city, you feel like you don't have access to a lot of green spaces. If you have anything looping, any looping thought patterns or any fears, envision your root coming from the base of your spine into the earth and just send all of these things down into Mother Earth and thank Mother Earth for transmuting them for you. Mother Earth is amazing at transmuting any density and any heaviness. So if you ever feel like you have these emotions or these thoughts, these patterns, you can send them down your root system into the earth to be transmuted. And if you can't get outside, you can envision your root chakra, your root system coming from your root chakra and just breathe in the energy of Mother Earth.
Yeah, so helpful. I do that all the time. Highly recommend as well. And Chantelle, can you share with us some highlights from the downloads and channelings you've received to help us kind of end on a hopefully positive note about the future and where we're headed and, the beauty that awaits us?
Yeah. So my guides and the beings, they don't show me too much of the future because the future is always changing. But there is a new earth, a new way of being that exists that they are anchoring a lot of us into. What that looks like specifically, they're showing me, they did show me a few weeks ago, when I was leading a group session. We did a lot of grid work. We did a lot of work with the ley lines and a lot of work with Atlantis. And they guided me to look through a Stargate to see what it was like on the other side. And they wanted us to walk through the Stargate, and something in me said, nah, we're not gonna do that for for a range of reasons. But the energy of it, it feels it just feels like community. It just feels like we're not just existing, we're living. The food is great. We don't have to worry about what not to eat, where to get the water from. We don't need to worry about, like, I need to work 9 to 5 because I need to earn all this money to do this. Creativity is the work. Like, creation is the work. Community is normal. It's the bog standard. Like, it's like the standards are raised. What we class as normal here, working overtime and surviving and just being able to afford food that doesn't actually nourish us. The base level over there is so much higher. Like, it's just standard to live in community. It's standard to have access to nourishing food, to clean water, to healing frequencies and healing technologies. It's just normal over there. That's where we're heading. That's where, well, everyone listening to this podcast, that's where we're all heading. As long as you know that and you can stand in that knowing, then you're going there. I don't know when this is happening. I don't know how long this takes, but you don't need to worry about the world ending and World War III and all of this crazy stuff they try to bombard you with. If you decide that is not happening for you, it's not going to happen for you. That's why they want you to fear it, because you're going to anchor yourself into it. And again, when I use the word anchor, it almost sounds like once you're there, you're stuck. If you're in that space and you're afraid and you feel like that's what's going to happen, it's not too late. Just keep unpicking that from your mind and keep looking to where you actually want to be. And you're going to pull yourself towards that instead. If you're afraid now, it's not that you're anchored into the lower timeline, you're doomed and you're going with them. You still have so much choice and so much space to choose where you want to go and start embracing it and start living like it. Start doing what you feel called to do to anchor that in, to bring that in.
Very exciting, beautiful. That brings me so much joy and peace. And I feel that in my heart. And another thing that I've seen you share, which really resonates as well with me, is that we're going to see an exodus from the Monday through Friday 9 to 5 grind and see a massive increase in people working for themselves and creating from their souls and their passions and their desires. And I see that shift happening already. And I feel that deeply.
Yeah, it's already happening. And it will continue to happen because we're fed up. We know that's not how we're supposed to live. I mean, even when it comes to food, I know there's a lot of fear around, like food and the collapse of certain things. Like, sure, that might happen, but there's so many regenerative farms opening. I know where I live, there's so many small holdings that are, growing food for the community, that are raising animals on a actual good diet where they're free to roam and they eat what's natural to them. For meat eaters, that's what you want. You want an animal that has actually been cared for, looked after. So yeah, whilst they want you to think that all the bad stuff is happening, there's a lot of amazing things happening, balancing it out. So it's up to you to decide where you want to look and what you decide to be true.
Thank you so much for being here today and opening our eyes and minds and hearts and sharing so much wisdom. I'm so, so grateful for you. And I loved this conversation so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I just love talking about all of this stuff. So I'm really grateful that you've given me the chance and the opportunity to just come on and do what I love doing.
I have one final important question for you. What is your vision and dream for the future of humanity and the earth?
Community, to be honest, and back to nature. I think technology is great. I think the internet is amazing. But as with everything, there are a lot of distortions. And I think our addiction to technology has taken us away from community. It's taken us away from nature and from, nurturing connections in our life, our families, our friends. So to really see people back to nature, living off of the land for the standard to be raised for everyone. And by everyone, I mean everyone. There shouldn't be anybody that's hungry. There shouldn't be anybody that's homeless. There shouldn't be any children that are going without. There's more than enough. We have the resources to have more than enough. And I think that's really my dream. I mean, obviously, it would be great to have all these crazy technologies that heal people and all of that. But to be honest, my simple dream is that everybody has enough and that everybody is looked after and nourished and cared for.
There is more happening in this world than meets the eye. A vast understanding opens up to us when we look at the world through the lens of energy, because everything is energy, everything is frequency. We need to peel back the layers and debris and go behind the scenes, go backstage. That's when embodiment, energetic alignment, and our highest timeline become available to us individually and collectively. It's time to start utilizing the power and potential of the astral realms to help us build a brighter and better future together. I'll end today with a quote from Rumi. Maybe you are searching among the branches for what only appears in the roots.